excited to welcome our next gorgeous speaker. Oh my goodness, this woman, what a heroine, an incredible story you're in for a treat for. I have watched her just blossom and birth this over the last several months. I'm so excited to experience you today. And so let's all give a huge round of applause for the beautiful, brilliant, courageous Kay Solomon.
Oh my
Yes, Kay.
Come on, Kay.
Come on, Kay. You got this. You got this, Kay.
Go on, girl.
I remember that day, a day in July 2019, when my soul cried out, I've got to save my life. I had been taking care of my then husband, who had had a stroke 6 months prior that left his right side severely weakened. Thankfully, his cognitive abilities were left intact. So during this time, I gave him his medication, I cooked for him, I helped him to bathe and dress. I took him to his 2.5-hour rehab appointments, driving 40 minutes one way, 2 to 3 times per week for almost 3 months. Indeed, I wanted to please him and I wanted him to recover. And so I did the basic things that I think a good wife would do for her loved one who has experienced a debilitating and tragic illness. I put my life on hold for him. And actually, my life had already been on hold for a number of years, but I took a leave of absence from my teaching position to care for him. And so what did I get in return for all of that heavy lifting? In return, I received snide comments that what I was doing was not good enough. Alongside the controlling behavior when I didn't cut the grass in just the right way. You're cutting it too short, you're going to gouge it, he would shout out the window as he supervised me cutting and edging the lawn. Or blaming me for the stroke and its debilitating effects, as he said. Well, if you had paid attention to me while I was on the treadmill that morning and hadn't rushed to work like you always do, alongside the constant suspicion that I was having an affair because I might put on something a little nicer than I might wear on any normal day. You're wearing a dress today. You always wear dresses on Wednesdays, he would say. And I think to myself, no, I don't, because I didn't have that many dresses in my closet. After some time, after the constant blaming and the constant efforts at control and gaslighting, even prior to the stroke, I started to feel like I couldn't move and like I couldn't breathe. And I felt like I was dying on the inside. And in fact, I figured out that I had been experiencing a slow emotional and psychological and spiritual death for over a decade. According to him, it was me holding on to the emotional baggage of the sins of other men that caused our marriage to be a mess. And here's the crazy thing, that I believed that. I believed that it was my fault and that I was the weak link. And so I was in a marriage in which I felt inadequate and not good enough. I was actually ashamed that I, a highly educated woman, got herself in this situation. In fact, it was the question that I feared the most that someone would ask, well, why won't you leave? That fear of that question silenced me. Here's the thing. We are not taught that this type of behavior is abuse, because in asking the question, why won't you leave? It puts a woman in silence. So why don't we ask a different question? Here's some questions that we can ask. Are you being isolated from family and friends? Is your access to your finances being limited? Are your comings and goings being monitored? Or are you made to feel like you're crazy because you think that things are happening in your marriage and you know that they're happening and he denies them? Here's the tragedy. We are not taught that this behavior is abuse because it's not physical, it's invisible. But we know that something is not quite right, yet we can't name it. And we as women, as nurturers and caregivers and healers, we are taught to avoid conflict, to avoid and conform to any and all situations, and to put the needs of others above our own at the expense of ourselves. Does any of this sound familiar to anyone? So that day in July 2019, I looked at my then husband lying in bed, and I replayed all of the drama, all of the blame and the control and the gaslighting and the judgment that I had experienced over the years, and my soul cried out, I have got to save my life. And in that moment, it was as if God said, now you're ready. It is as if just enough space opened in my heart to let God speak life and truth into my soul and to breathe life right into my spirit. And in that moment, I began to experience my salvation. So, how did it happen for me? I sought counseling and I reset my boundaries. But the greatest thing that happened for me is that I began to know who I was through the simple practice of meditation. That simple spiritual practice, simple but not easy. It was through meditation that gave me the space enough to practice self-compassion, for me to know that there was nothing wrong with me and that none of what happened was my fault. And so each and every single morning to this day, I meeting myself with God each and every day, enjoying and experiencing that present moment and getting quiet and getting still and gaining strength. So John Kabat-Zinn, who's a meditation teacher, has a book called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And in that book, he says, meditation is seeing things clearly and deliberately positioning yourself differently in relation to them. And so through my meditation practice, I began to see much more clearly that in my marriage, I had given up my freedom, my peace, and my sense of self. And as I continued to meditate, I positioned myself to see the breadcrumbs that God was putting before me each and every single day. And each one I picked up led me in the direction I was to go. So one of those breadcrumbs was the suggestion that I should see a counselor. And in fact, I did. And when I described this behavior that I described to you, she said, that's abuse. And guess what? I didn't believe it because it wasn't physical. But yet I had enough curiosity after I left her office to go home and Google was my friend. And in fact, confirmed that what I was experiencing was abuse. And so as I continued to meditate, I claimed the guidance and the strength that was inside of me. And in October 2019, 9 months after the stroke, I filed for divorce. It wasn't easy. And in fact, meditation itself doesn't make life easy. But indeed, through it, I have experienced life that I call golden. And what does that mean? It means that I wake up each and every single day absolutely knowing that God is for me and is on my side. And I have experienced a joy that I had not experienced since the day my daughter was born over 17 years ago. And finally, through this practice, I am getting to know who I am. And it is absolutely joyous. So you may be in a relationship that does not serve you. Or you may be feeling like there's something not quite right. In fact, you may have felt a twinge when I described some of the signs of abuse that maybe you didn't know, or maybe you did and you had just ignored them. I can relate to all of that. It is so hard to see your way through in those situations. I know. Fear held onto me for a lot of years. But I had to ask myself the question, what is on the other side of fear? And ask yourself the question too. So, this is what I know, and this is what I believe. Just like me, your life is worth it. You are worth saving. But the only person that's going to save your life is you. Thank you.
Hey. Wow. Oh my
Wow,
word,
wow, wow.
Kay. That was amazing.
Amazing.
Oh my word. That was amazing,
Bravo,
Kay.
bravo.
Amazing.
So
Yes,
beautiful.
beautiful.
Incredible.
Yes. Oh, wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Oh, anybody just jump on in. Let's celebrate Kay. Who would love to tell her, what did you love? What did you love? So much to love. What did you love?
Hey, I just, oh, no, Julie. Go. No, but then, Okay, wow, I just have to move you, so I'm talking to you. You're amazing. Wow, I just felt your strength and your self-compassion, and I just loved it when you said that, knowing yourself, that you're joyous in it. And just the beautiful path that you've traveled, and knowing that God is for you. And now here you are for us. Here you are for other women.
Thank you,
And
Julie.
you're just such a beautiful stand for truth
Absolutely.
and power.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, so incredible. This, what was it that you said about this golden,
Yeah, my life is golden.
life is golden, even through the
Yes.
deepest trials. The
Yeah.
power of meditation, the power of connecting every day to this
Yeah.
fundamental source within, the golden nature of that, and you're closing. So amazing.
I know.
You have put your heart and your soul into this, and you have also shown up. I just want to celebrate what a sister you have been in this
Thank you.
community for these women.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
only have you written a phenomenal share here and talk, I mean, this, you make sure you read the chat because it's been exploding
Thank you. Thank you,
exploding
Kate.
with
you.
celebration and resonance. But you
Thank
have also just, your listening in this community has just been phenomenal as well.
Thank you.
You are a wonder. Thank you for your incredible bravery on every level and your gorgeous grace. Let's
Thank
give her a
you.
huge round of applause.
Wonderful. Oh.
Thank you.